Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and dignitaries. Welcome to the LKDF Forum for 2021 on digital skills for an inclusive future. My name is Fifi Peters, and I am happy to be back with you again this year at the second virtual LKDF. We are coming towards the end of what has been a very difficult year for most people around the world. Perhaps even more difficult than in 2020 when the COVID-19 pandemic, as it were, first landed on this earth. But because of the gadgets that you and I enjoy, the access to data and fiber, and also a certain level of computer literacy skills that we have, although I do apologize in advance for forgetting to unmute myself. Because of these things and because of the access that we have, we are still able to go on with the order of business for today. In fact, for the past 18 months, this has been the case for most of us who have been able to work from home. Your children have been able to learn from home, and life has continued, albeit remotely and on a digital platform. But you and I both know that this hasn't been the case for the majority of the people. Most people have not been able to enjoy the spoils of the digital innovation that we have seen unravel before our eyes at an accelerated pace in the past 18 months. I'm talking about most women, I'm talking about most young people, and I'm also talking about most people in least or less developed countries like the one that I'm coming from, or rather the region I'm coming from today, being Africa. You know better than I that this formula is not sustainable. We need to fix it. We need to correct it at an accelerated pace if we are going to chart a recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic that is sustainable and that is inclusive for all. And so this is what we will be discussing for the most part of the day today. We will be putting solutions on the table as to how we can all achieve an inclusive future in which everyone has a digital identity. I do look forward to hearing your contributions in this regard, and I do ask you to please feel free to engage with us. You can share any comments that you have or raise any questions that you do have in the chat function. Also, feel free to use social media to share any thoughts and any opinions that you have of the LKDF Forum for this year. You can do so on Twitter and on LinkedIn using the handles at LKDF Facility. On that note, I would like to press forward with the agenda for today, and I would like to hand over to our first two speakers who will give us the official opening for the ceremony for this year. We will be hearing from Mr. Yong, who is the Director General for the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO, and also Ms. Carin, Jämtin, the Director General of the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, that is SIDA. Let us listen in.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies, gentlemen, over the last 1.5 years, we have seen how quickly the world has had to adapt to a new and uncertain global socio-economic reality. The world made a giant leap in digitalization, offering new opportunities and increasing demand and attention for digital skills. Development challenges have also been exacerbated. In this regard, the digital divide among countries can no longer be ignored. We must invest in these skills and ensure that no one is left behind during this journey. It is therefore such an honor to welcome you to this year's virtual forum of UNIDO's Learning and Knowledge Development Facility, LKDF, organized in collaboration with the Swedish International Development Agency, the European Training Foundation, and World Skills International. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, less than 1 in 5 people in the least developed countries are connected to internet. This is an unacceptable situation, particularly with the technological advancement of the fourth industrial revolution. Economic development and access to further development opportunities and gains are stalled. There's also a need to progress beyond internet access to guarantee the development of inclusive digital skills. Demand for digital skills training and the need to reskill are increasing. In the coming decade, all businesses, including those that previously did not require digital skills, will soon require them. New digital skills will need to keep up with innovation to help reduce the digital divide to ensure inclusive and sustainable growth. As we gather at this year's LKDF Forum, I call for all of us to work together stronger to build a demand-responsive skilled workforce, reduce global job skills mismatch, and more imperatively, bridge the digital divide. We must support each other in our global drive towards the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, strengthening the dialogue for public-private development partnerships, and the development of the demand-oriented digital skills in the inclusive, gender-responsive, and the sustainable industry, ultimately contributing to a generation of equality. The outcomes and actions from this forum carries great importance. I thank you for your participation.
Dear all, my name is Carin Jämtin, and I'm the Director General of SIDA, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency. It's a great honor for me to take part in this opening of the LKDF Forum 2021 on the important theme of digital skills for an inclusive future. Lifelong learning and skills development are key building blocks to productive development, or rather productive employment. It is an important means for inclusive economic growth and poverty reduction. The COVID-19 pandemic has led to an acceleration of the use of digital tools, not least within education. But it has also highlighted and created digital divides, hitting already vulnerable groups the hardest. On the other hand, digitalization provides great opportunities to transform our societies after the pandemic and to lift people out of poverty and oppression. It's important that the transition to a green, climate-neutral economy and to an automated and digitalized society is guided by the 2030 Agenda and the global goals. The transition has to be just, inclusive, and sustainable, leaving no one behind. To achieve this, the public and private sectors and all other key actors must work together. Collaboration must be built on inclusion, respect for human rights, be transparent, and aim for joint long-term goals for sustainable societies. I'm very happy and proud about our long-standing partnership with UNIDO for the LKDF. The LKDF 2.0 is an important enabling platform. It allows governments, private sector, training institutions, students, as well as investors to build partnerships, stronger local economies, create jobs, and improve working conditions. I would like to conclude by urging all of you to engage openly and bravely in the upcoming discussions, which I hope and I'm sure will contribute to innovative solutions to the many urgent challenges and opportunities lying ahead of all of us. Thank you all for listening.
And thank you, Ms. Jämtin, and thank you also to Mr. Yong. And as we have heard, this is a platform for us to really discuss and engage openly and bravely as to do solve what is a pressing problem for the world right now. And it is a problem that, of course, we cannot do alone. It will need a whole lot of collaboration from all corners of the world to address the digital divide. And so we hear from all corners of the world right now messages that have been prepared by high-level speakers, by dignitaries and some ministers who are weighing in and giving their thoughts on how we do press forward in addressing the digital challenge, in which only less than 1 in 5 people in least developed countries are connected to the internet, a ratio in which we know is not sustainable, not only for economic development, but also for economic gains. And so let's hear from our speakers now and get their thinking on the way forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me a great pleasure to participate in the opening ceremony of the annual meeting of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility under the theme Digital Skills for an Inclusive Future. The forces of globalization and technology are rapidly transforming our economies, workplaces, and communities, requiring new and rapidly changing skills. The COVID-19 pandemic has impacted global economies and supply chains, which in turn adds more challenges and the need for skill development of the workforce to support governments' efforts in promoting investments and creating jobs has become crucial. It has also become essential to adopt new approaches to education to enable educational institutions to deliver a qualified workforce equipped with the knowledge and skills that meet market needs. Sectors such as the manufacturing need special qualifications, including vocational training that needs to be upgraded in terms of techniques and curriculum to meet digital transformation requirements that businesses are starting to integrate in their operations. Ladies and gentlemen, recognizing the enormous potential the digital economy has to improve quality of government services and enhance competitiveness of economic sectors, the Jordanian government recently adopted a national digital transformation strategy for the upcoming 5 years, in addition to a national artificial intelligence policy. Furthermore, the Jordanian government launched several public-private initiatives to upgrade human capital skills and improve the outputs of the educational system to better meet the evolving demands of the Jordanian economy. Moreover, technical support programs to SMEs include now programs that focus on digitization and e-commerce. Technology is the vital force in the modern form of business globalization. A lack of digital skill creates a digital divide that deepens social and economic exclusion. Hence, digital skills are necessary for the employability of workforces and strengthening of the competitiveness of businesses. In closing, I would like to thank UNIDO for the invitation to participate in this important meeting and for the valuable exchange of experiences and thoughts. Thank you.
Ministry of Commerce and Industry of Federal Government of Somalia, we are honored to participate in the second virtual forum of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility under the theme of Digital Skills for an Inclusive Future. In recent years, positive momentum has been generated, and Somalia is back on the international stage, investing in human capital with an aim of developing long-term talent pools and grow existing employees will enable both the Somali public and the private sector to emerge stronger from post-conflict and pandemic. Online business in Somalia possess a huge potential for investments. Therefore, investing in skills such as website development, cloud computing, digital thinking, online marketing, and customer service could boost this sector and in turn create a large number of jobs. Bridging the digital literary gap can help to leapfrog Somalia's development and accelerate towards sustainable, decent jobs and promote growth through a modern economy with sustainable and clean modes of production and consumption. In conclusion, I would like to encourage all the stakeholders, policymakers online today, myself and my government, to develop frameworks that help to identify long-term digital skills development, encourage lifelong learning and innovative ways to measure the digital skills to prepare for jobs of the future. With that in mind, we encourage discussions and exchange of views to move towards greener, safer business for better world. Thank you very much.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning. On behalf of His Excellency Senior Minister Champrasit, Minister of Industry, Science, Technology and Innovation, it is my great pleasure to honor the opening ceremony of the annual meeting of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility. As you all may know, digital technology is rapidly developing in diverse fields. During the COVID-19 pandemic, digital technology has proven extremely useful and vital in many dimensions. Despite this disruption of social economic activities, this pandemic has accelerated the digital transformation of our society. One must keep in mind that this progress is not distributed evenly across the globe. The pandemic has thus revealed the impetus to address the huge digital gap observed from one country to another. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, like other countries in the world, Cambodia has also faced unprecedented challenges posed by COVID-19. However, it also provides an opportunity for Cambodia to embrace a technology leapfrog. This impetus for change and survival call for a robust national strategy that includes a proper financial investment, developing digital infrastructures, and technical skills. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the Royal Government of Cambodia has progressively moved towards digital transformation by rolling out the Digital Economy and Society Policy Framework, aiming to transform Cambodia into a digital-based economy, government, and society by 2035. Last but not least, our government aims also at reducing the digital gap to guarantee that no one is left behind, as the digital transformation has to be inclusive. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to thank UNIDO for having initiated this wonderful forum. May I wish all the participants a fruitful discussion and debate. May I also wish you all good health and a great success.
Excellencies, colleagues, fellow young people, I'm honored to address you at the annual meeting of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility. I thank UNIDO for this kind invitation. As the United Nations Secretary General's Envoy on Youth, I have the privilege to meet many young people offline and online, and I'm humbled by their resilience, drive, and creativity as they continue their work despite the hardships brought by the COVID-19 pandemic, the climate crisis, and systems of inequality and exclusion. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic alone, young people's education, training, and labor market insertion was severely impacted. It led to job losses and a reduction in working hours, and in 2020 alone, youth employment worldwide fell by 8.7% compared to 3.7% for adults. Young people who were already vulnerable and marginalized before the pandemic, including young women and girls, LGBTIQ young people living with disabilities, are the hardest hit. To build forward better for a more sustainable, inclusive, and a just future for all of us, we must address young people's long-standing disparities and challenges. Bridging the digital divide and investing in young people's digital skills is key in this regard. Quality, accessible and relevant education and training, including digital skills development, ensure that young people are empowered to reach their full potential. It is also the smartest investment any government or organization can do to avoid future crises and ramp up socio-economic development. So I urge the decision makers here today to apply an intersectional lens to your youth-related policies and programs, ensuring that no young person is left behind. I also encourage everyone to include young people as equal partners, not only beneficiaries of your initiatives. Young people drive solutions, and they must have a seat at the table. Youth 2030, the United Nations system-wide youth strategy, lays out a roadmap for the UN and partners to work with and for young people around the world. I invite everyone to make the most out of this framework and together build a world that is better for young people. I wish you a productive meeting, and I look forward to working with all of you to serve with and for young people. Thank you.
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I am delighted to have been invited by our sister agency UNIDO to be part of the Learning and Knowledge Development Facility Forum 2021 and to have the opportunity to share some thoughts on how we can make the most from the rapid technological changes that we're seeing today. While the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the central role of connectivity in our day-to-day lives, the harsh reality is that half the world's population still does not have access to the internet. What's equally concerning is that oftentimes where people do have access to an affordable internet connection, they lack the digital skills to use it meaningfully. In an increasingly digitized economy and society, digital skills are becoming essential, and those without digital skills are among those most likely to experience unemployment. Digital skills have also become a precursor for children, as well as their teachers, so that they can continue online education, and for entrepreneurs' livelihoods, to name just a few. Having the tools to use digital technologies has become essential for individuals' fully fledged participation in society. Equipping everyone will involve both public and private sector commitment, a commitment to strengthening digital literacy and ensuring locally developed content in appropriate languages. We at the ITU, together with our partners around the world, are working to build digital capacities, particularly in underserved communities, for persons with disabilities, people living in rural areas, those on low incomes, and others that are at risk of being left behind. Through the ITU Academy platform, our Center of Excellence program, our Digital Transformation Centers initiative with Cisco, our Digital Skills campaign with ILO, and programs like Girls in ICT Day and Girls Can Code camps that specifically tackle the gender digital divide, we are working to provide these digital capacities. To meet the goals outlined by the UN Secretary General in his roadmap for digital cooperation, especially on digital capacity building, ITU is working with UNDP on a joint facility for capacity development. Taking a multi-stakeholder approach, this initiative not only helps deliver digital literacy, but it also helps identify areas of unmet demand for more digital capacity development initiatives. Universal connectivity and the associated digital capacities have never been more urgent, nor the time more ripe. Ladies and gentlemen, let's work together and empower everyone, everywhere, with the skills to participate in the digital future. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for including me in this important day, bringing together the international community to set a path forward in supporting young people to benefit from the seismic changes now taking place in the global economy. We know that this is already a world of digital haves and have-nots. A world where essential tools like high-speed internet, personal computers, and video teachings are a way of life for some, but little more than an aspiration for millions of others. The pandemic threatens to widen this digital divide. Its initial impact was to disrupt and, sadly, sometimes terminate the training and education of a generation of young people, particularly in the developing world and for women especially. In response, WorldSkills has worked with our members and organisations like UNIDO through the LKDF to develop and support new strategies for learning and testing. But it is also clear that the pandemic did not create the digital divide. It has just made it more visible by bringing these challenges faced by many young people to the light. And in that sense, it should be a wake-up call, a stark demonstration of long-standing inequalities that we urgently need to fix. If we don't think better about a more inclusive future, where a young person in Africa has the same opportunities as, say, a young person in Western Europe, then the new digital age will simply continue to reflect the inequalities of the old one. But if, instead, we make it a driver of inclusivity, of prosperity and social stability, then we can say the lessons of the last 2 years have not taken us backwards, but have shown us the way forward. On behalf of the millions of young people eager to use skills to change their lives and those of their communities, I thank you for your ongoing contributions to a more inclusive and diverse future.
Monsieur le directeur général de l'Organisation des Nations Unies pour le développement industriel, Mesdames et Messieurs les responsables, honorable présence, bonjour. C'est à la fois un honneur et un grand plaisir pour notre pays, le Royaume du Maroc, de participer aujourd'hui à cette importante rencontre internationale et dont les thématiques qu'il porte sont à présent d'actualité, puisqu'il s'agit des compétences et des qualifications à l'ère de la transition digitale et son impact sur le développement inclusif des sociétés. Mesdames et messieurs, comme vous le savez tous, les secteurs industriels connaissent actuellement des évolutions importantes imposées forcément par l'introduction progressive des outils, des solutions et des technologies digitales innovantes. Et ce, dans un contexte mondial de rude concurrence en la matière. En effet, et afin de s'adapter à ces profonds changements structurels à même de garantir leur compétitivité, les entreprises industrielles s'approprient progressivement ces technologies révolutionnaires telles que l'Internet des objets, l'impression 3D, les robots collaboratifs, la big data, l'intelligence artificielle, la réalité virtuelle et augmentée, etc. Face à cette impressionnante transition, il est opportun aujourd'hui de réfléchir à la mise en place de cursus de formation continue, spécifiques à chaque domaine, permettant de suivre des changements et les tendances générées par la révolution technologique et digitale, et mieux préparer les talents et les qualifications dont les écosystèmes industriels auront besoin. Aujourd'hui, La volonté du Royaume du Maroc est de disposer d'une industrie générant une forte valeur ajoutée, orientée nouvelles technologies et innovations, tant au niveau des produits que des processus industriels. Dans ce sens, le Royaume du Maroc, à travers l'Agence de développement du digital, a lancé plusieurs initiatives dans la mise en œuvre de ces chantiers. Le chantier de la Smart Factory, qui consiste en une usine modèle qui servira à initier et à former les industriels marocains sur les outils et les concepts de l'industrie 4.0. En ce qui concerne le volet formation et éducation, le Royaume du Maroc a lancé un chantier majeur sur la formation dans le domaine du digital, intitulé Génération digitale, et qui ambitionne de former des milliers de concitoyens et de les préparer aux nouvelles exigences imposées par le développement rapide des secteurs digitaux. Mesdames et messieurs, je voudrais surtout mettre l'accent sur l'importance de la composante formation en termes de compétences numériques pour l'industrie. Sur ce sujet, le Royaume réitère sa volonté de coopérer avec Learning and Knowledge Development Facility, LKDF, pour le développement et la mise à niveau d'académies de formation sur les technologies digitales destinées au secteur industriel. Enfin, je tiens à présenter mes vifs remerciements aux initiateurs et aux organisateurs de cette rencontre qui, sans conteste, fera ressortir des conclusions et des recommandations objectives pour promouvoir les compétences digitales à même de garantir pour les sociétés un développement inclusif et durable. Mesdames et messieurs, merci pour votre attention.
Good morning, everybody. It is a pleasure for me and for the European Training Foundation to be here, and I'd like to thank UNIDO for inviting us to discuss with you these important topics of digital skills and inclusiveness. Digital skills offer new big challenges, but also great opportunities for change and innovation. We in ETF have been mapping the way in which our partner countries have been responding to the pandemic, and we have seen that in their great variety of responses, one element was not sufficiently covered. Skills were not sufficiently present. We have also looked more in depth at different sectors, and with the European Bank of Reconstruction and Development, for example, we looked at the agri-tech sector, and we looked at how enterprise produces innovation in the time of pandemic. We have seen again that the capacity of putting skills at the center of the strategies is one of the determining factors for the capacity of enterprise to respond and meet the challenges. We have also seen that the European Commission, in their new vision for digital transformation presented in March this year, has put skills and business once again at the center of their work. It is therefore very important for the work of the European Training Foundation to continue along these lines, and we see and we welcome that also you have given such prominence to these two areas of work. Allow me to quote Albert Einstein, who reminded us that human spirit must prevail over technology. These words might guide us in the work that we do to make sure that we put people at the center of our efforts and that we see that innovation and transformation serve the purposes of inclusion and the purposes of making sure that we produce a better life for all. I wish you a very good forum.